What hurts more? Being screamed at, or being treated like you don't exist? Think about it. An argument ends, harsh words fade, but silence stays. It follows you into your bedroom at night. It sits beside you when you're alone. It whispers questions that never seem to stop. What did I do wrong? Why won't they talk to me? Did they ever care at all? And the worst part, you never get an answer. Because sometimes people don't break your heart with words. They break it with their absence. They leave you standing in the middle of a story that suddenly ends without warning. No explanation, no goodbye, no closure, just silence. And that silence can become one of the most emotionally violent things a human being can experience. The pain nobody sees. The strange thing about silence is that nobody sees the damage. If someone punches you, people see the bruise. If someone insults you, people hear the words. But when someone goes silent, the wound becomes invisible. You smile in public, you go to work, you continue your routine. But inside, something is collapsing. Because humans are not built for emotional abandonment. We are wired for connection. We need reassurance. We need communication. We need to feel seen. And when someone suddenly withdraws their presence, the brain reacts as if something important has been taken away. Something essential. Something that made us feel safe. That's why being ignored doesn't feel small. It feels personal. It feels like being erased. Like someone looked at your existence and decided you weren't worth responding to. And few things hurt more than feeling invisible to someone who once made you feel important. Silence creates monsters in the mind. The most dangerous thing about silence isn't what it says. It's what it allows your mind to imagine. When someone stops talking, the brain starts talking. Constantly. Endlessly. Relentlessly. You replay old conversations. You reread old messages. You search for clues. You examine every detail. Every word. Every memory. Trying to find the moment everything changed. But you never find it. Because silence gives you no evidence. Only questions. And questions become anxiety. Anxiety becomes obsession. And obsession becomes suffering. You begin creating stories in your head. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they found someone better. Maybe I never mattered. And suddenly, the person who stopped talking isn't hurting you anymore. Your own mind is. Why silence feels worse than rejection? At least rejection is honest. At least rejection tells you where you stand. Imagine someone looking you in the eyes and saying, I don't want this anymore. It hurts, but it's clear. Now imagine someone disappearing without a word. No explanation. No clarity. No ending. Your heart doesn't know what to do with that. Because the story never finishes. And unfinished stories haunt us. The human brain craves closure. We need endings. We need answers. But silence leaves the door half open. Just enough hope to keep waiting. Just enough uncertainty to keep suffering. And that's why people can spend years recovering from someone who never even gave them an explanation. When silence becomes a weapon, not all silence is accidental. Sometimes silence is intentional. Sometimes it's a weapon, a tool used to punish, control, manipulate. The silent treatment isn't simply someone needing space. It's someone using absence as power. Because they know what silence does. They know you'll think about them. They know you'll question yourself. They know you'll chase answers. And while you're losing sleep trying to understand them, they hold all the power. That's what makes it so cruel. The pain isn't coming from what they're doing. It's coming from what they're refusing to do. A conversation could solve everything. But instead, they leave you alone with your thoughts. And for many people, their thoughts are the darkest place they know. The real damage. Eventually, something begins to happen. Something dangerous. You stop asking why they're silent, and start asking what's wrong with you. That's when the damage becomes deeper. Because now the silence is no longer outside of you. It's inside you. You start doubting your worth, your value, your attractiveness, your importance. You become smaller, quieter, more afraid. You carry the wounds of one person's silence into every future relationship, every future friendship, every future conversation. You expect abandonment. You fear distance. You panic when people don't respond quickly. Not because you're weak. Because you've learned what silence can do. You've felt its power. And you've survived its destruction. The truth they don't tell you. But here's something most people never realize. Someone else's silence does not define your worth. Read that again. Someone else's silence does not define your worth. Sometimes people go silent because they're immature. Sometimes because they're afraid. Sometimes because they don't know how to communicate. Sometimes because they're fighting battles you'll never see. Their silence is often a reflection of them. Not you. But pain has a way of convincing us otherwise. Pain makes us believe we're the problem. That we're not enough. That we're unlovable. That we're forgettable. Yet the truth is, the right people don't make you question your value. The right people communicate. The right people explain. The right people don't leave you drowning in uncertainty. One day you'll realize something. The silence that nearly broke you actually revealed everything. It revealed who cared, who didn't, who stayed, who left, who respected your heart, and who didn't. Because silence speaks, sometimes louder than words ever could. And maybe the strongest thing you can do isn't forcing someone to talk. Maybe it's accepting that their silence is already an answer. Not the answer you wanted, but the answer they chose to give. And when you finally stop chasing their voice, you begin hearing your own. And that's where healing starts. That's where peace begins. That's where your power returns. Because no matter how loud someone else's silence becomes, it should never be louder than your self-worth. Silence can be one of the most painful experiences in human psychology. Not because it says too much, but because it says too little. It leaves space for fear, for doubt, for insecurity, for endless questions. But remember this, the loudest statement someone can make is not always spoken. Sometimes it's their absence, and sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop chasing explanations from people who chose silence, and start listening to yourself instead. Because peace begins the moment you stop begging for answers from those who never intended to give them. If you enjoyed this psychology deep dive, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever been hurt more by silence than by words? Until next time, keep learning about the mind.